Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Arisya binti Azley with the metric number of 2016980. We'll be presenting and reviewing a book entitled Crisis in the Muslim Mind by Abdul Hamid Abdul Sulaiman. Before I analyze the book deeper, let us first dive into the author of this book. Okay, first of all, as an IIUM students, the name of Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman is no longer an alien to us. He was the second rector of International Islamic University Malaysia, Professor Emeritus Dato Dr. Abdul Hamid Ahmad Abu Sulaiman, born in 1936 until 18 August 2021. He was internationally renowned as an Islamic scholar, thinker, educationist, and author of many books and articles on the subject of Islam and Islamic reform, especially in the field of thoughts and education. He was the chairman of the International Institute of Islamic Thought, IIIT, and he was also the founding president of International Islamic University Malaysia between 1989 and 1919. Okay, now we have known the author. Let's move on to one of his literary work, which is a book that I will discuss in this video, which is Crisis in the Muslim Mind. Crisis in the Muslim Mind was published in 1991 and consisted of 6 chapters and that talk about vast knowledge of Muslim Ummah problems and its solutions. With each chapter brings a different approach, really attracts its reader to continue reading this book. In this book, it has agreed that the Ummah is going through a very tough time right now, especially right now, and characterized by division and split of the races, loss of identity, failed institution, and inability to escape its current condition of confusion. The necessity for reform is likewise widely acknowledged. In particular, after its early interaction with Western civilization, the Ummah became painfully conscious of its issue. Since then, the Ummah has endured periods of authoritarianism and subordination to foreign experiment with its political system, culture, economy, social structure, ethics, and field of science and art. But none of this has produced the outcome that the Ummah envisioned or even the Ummah desired. Instead, the Ummah was sucked into this vicious cycle. This book main point can be summed up as follows that we'll talk about. The book starts with a critique of Islamic thoughts, conventional methodology, and then examine its foundation and sources. The topic of this methodology effectiveness in terms of thoroughness of its scope and means is then discussed. A general comparison of Islamic and scientific technique is then provided in this book. The author, Abu Hamid Abdul Sulaiman, then discusses the humanity and social sciences from the viewpoint of the Islamization of the knowledge. The author discusses 2 topics at the conclusion of the book, which is the first one is the future of humanity and Islam, and finally he expresses his contentment with the notion that Islamization is the most significant issue facing the Ummah, that it is the Ummah's future, Ummah's destiny, and Ummah's goal, as well as the mean by which it will be emerge from its crisis and begin the process of creating a new civilization and renaissance. Okay, moving on to the next part of this video, where some part of the book that I find fascinating to the reader, that we will find fascinating, think beyond, to think critical about the argument in this book. Firstly, it is really intrigued to learn about the starting point in dealing with crisis as stated in the first chapter of the book in page 10. Correct me if I'm wrong for the page, because I was looking into the book like article 1. Okay, but for that part is page number 10. Okay, in the book, we have learned there are 3 main categories available for the Ummah in dealing with crisis. The first one, which are imitative foreign solution. The second one is imitative historical solution, and the third one, Islamic Asalah solution. Okay, let's go on one by one. For the first solution, the imitative foreign solution, this is often called as the foreign solution and entails borrowing solution which spring in essence from the cultural, secular and materialist experience of the contemporary West. In the short term, we take what West has done to their economy, their social, politic, and we take them, we learn, and then we execute in our own country. That is the first theory. The second theory, the imitative historical solution, this implies relying on solution derived from Islamic historical experience, what has been done during Rasulullah, the Prophet time, what has been done during Abu Bakr time. That is, regardless of consideration of revelation in terms of time and place. And last but not least is the Islamic Asalah solution. This is the best one. This is the approach which seeks to apply relevant solution derived from authentic Islamic sources to the Ummah problems. And according to these three categories, we may see that each crisis we'll be dealing with in our daily life must have its own way to solve it. For example, if it's related to economy or politics, we may look over to the West as they are a couple steps ahead of us. And it is actually a good opportunity to deal with the problem that related to our economy, to our political, social, with the Western approach, since they are more advanced and modern technology apart from us. Or if the problem is related to someone's fate, to the Ummah's fate, Ummah religion, it is truly crucial to take the third category, which is the Islamic Asalah solution, as we will make any decision based on the revelation of Allah. Another part that interests the reader in this book is in chapter 6, specifically Islamization and academic institution subtopic. The universal facts, values, and goals that make up the Islamic quintessence should serve as the foundation for educational institutions throughout the Islamic world. These institutions will need to set up academic association, academic group, academic centers that will work to create Islamic academic approaches across all fields of studies in order to accomplish this. The first step in Islamizing knowledge is to create appropriate methodology in many of field of knowledge and to provide broad introduction to each. These pillars could therefore serve as the basis for study and ijtihad with the Islamic focus that aims to direct the upbringing and development of the new Muslim generation. In this book, we have learned some steps in the Islamization of knowledge. Okay, there are 5 steps of the ways to Islamization of the knowledge. Let's go through one by one. The first step is to classify and index the text of Wahyu, the Quran and the Sunnah, to facilitate the understanding of these texts and their purposes for researchers and the students, or to facilitate access to these texts and the ways to deal with them. That is the first step. The second one, how can we Islamization the knowledge, is to edit, to classify and index the specialized encyclopedic texts of the intellectual heritage so as to facilitate the understanding of their content by researcher. This step is then continued by the third step, which is Islamic university, like us, and educational institution need to recruit qualified scholars who combine specialization in the social sciences with sound background in the Islamic intellectual heritage. Okay, and by means of their studies and their research, they should clarify their desired academic vision and methodology. So in IUM, we have a lot of incredible and successful professors and lecturers that are really following the Al-Quran and Sunnah. That is a good one. Okay, so moving on to the fourth step, which is Islamic educational institution need to increase awareness among leaders and educated Muslim in general of the issue of Islamization, its priorities and the place of those priorities on the agenda of Ummah as a whole. And last but not least, the fifth step is to suggest that Islamic academic, like us, institution must now begin to direct graduate research and program towards the subject and issues of Islamization. And I think this is also being implemented in our current university, and I'm proud of that. Okay, so in conclusion, Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman had goes beneath the surface on the identity crisis and confusion that a Muslim face in modern world. The methodological rigor that was part of the consultative process of Islamic theology has declined to the degree that Islam as a code of life has reduced to few rituals. The writer Abu Hamid Abdul Sulaiman talks about the education system, intellectual development, and scientific experiment that were part of Islamic tradition during its peak. The Muslim identity has adopted its Western concoction to view Muslim as barbarian and backward. But, on the contrary, the most scientific advancement and literary work that is the foundation of the current scientific progression has been laid by Islamic civilization. So, I believe that's all from me. Thank you for listening to this book review, and I believe this book is very, very useful to be read by the readers. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.